Hello everyone, you are on the Wild Boxing channel. Boxing remains one of the most popular sports globally, and the top boxers remain some of the highest paid athletes around. There's nothing like a high-level boxing match featuring two talented fighters with technically even skills. What typically ensues is a fast-paced chess match where attributes like toughness, determination, and the will to win often determine the victors. This video will explore some of the best boxing matches that have ever taken place. Try to watch them all to up your boxing IQ and appreciation for the sport. Evander Holyfield vs. Mike Tyson 2. Evander Holyfield shocked the world when he defeated Mike Tyson in 1996 to win the WBA heavyweight title. That led to the highly anticipated rematch between the two at the MGM Grand Garden in Las Vegas. Mike Tyson's fans were sure Holyfield's first win was a fluke, but Holyfield proved otherwise during the rematch, using his jab to keep Tyson away and dominating the exchanges. Frustrated, Tyson committed an act he could never outlive, biting off part of Holyfield's ear. It was one of the most insane moments in boxing history, and it got Tyson disqualified, marking his second loss to Holyfield. The bite also led to Tyson losing his boxing license. He was eventually able to get it reinstated, and he went on to have many more professional fights. Marco Barra vs. Erik Morales. The first round of this historic matchup was one of the most action-packed rounds in boxing history, with both fighters landing their fair share of punches. Things hadn't cooled down by the fifth round of the fight as Morales unleashed a vicious barrage on Barra. Just when it looked like Barra was in trouble, he fired back with ferocious punches of his own. The entertaining showdown earned both men the Rings Round of the Year award. Morales went on to win the fight by split decision, which led to two more fights between the two. The classic trilogy between Morales and Barra remains one of the most entertaining trilogies in boxing history. Rocky Marciano vs. Joe Walcott. This historic matchup had the entire boxing world divided leading up to it. Many, including Walcott, thought Marciano was overhyped and overrated. Walcott was so confident it would be an easy matchup for him that he asked for his name to be taken out of boxing's record books if he lost to Marciano. Walcott came to fight when the opening bell rang. He handed Marciano the first knockdown of his career, and Marciano was heard complaining that he couldn't see by the seventh round. Both men were pretty busted up by that point. Marciano memorably turned things around with a huge right hook that left Walcott unconscious as he fell into the ropes. Floyd Mayweather vs. Manny Pacquiao. The Mayweather vs. Pacquiao super fight was one of the most anticipated fights in boxing history. It took almost a decade for both men to finally come to terms despite the high fan demand for the fight. The fight put up historic numbers, pulling $410 million via pay-per-view, making it the highest-grossing boxing match ever. Many fans thought the fight lived up to the hype, while others felt disappointed. It was a classic fight, as Mayweather put out a lot more offense than usual. He went right after Pacquiao from the opening bell, landing hard rights that left him second-guessing himself. Mayweather easily took the first few rounds before Pacquiao finally found his rhythm in the fourth round. Mayweather dominated most of the fight, earning a unanimous victory against his arch-rival. Carmen Basilio vs. Tony DeMarco 2. The first fight between these two went the distance, and Basilio emerged victorious, winning DeMarco's NYSAC, NBA, and ring welterweight titles. DeMarco vowed to reclaim his titles during the rematch, and he got off to a good start winning the opening round. Then Basilio broke his left hand during the second round. DeMarco was on his way to victory when Basilio sent him to the canvas during the final round. DeMarco willed himself back to his feet, but Basilio never gave him a chance to recover, sending him back down to the canvas moments later to end the fight. Sugar Ray Leonard vs. Marvin Hagler. Leonard had only a single fight in about 5 years heading into his showdown against Hagler. Hagler was the favorite heading into the contest, but things played out differently from what many people expected. Leonard took control of the fight early on, and he finished strong, earning himself a split decision victory. It was an entertaining bout that ended in one of the biggest upsets in boxing history. Israel Vasquez vs. Rafael Marquez 3. Vasquez and Marquez shared a ring 4 times, and they were all quite entertaining. The first fight between the two was a wild brawl with both fighters showcasing their huge hearts. Marquez emerged victorious after their first showdown, but Vasquez got some payback during the rematch, winning via split decision. The second fight also earned the pair the Ring Magazine Fight of the Year award. The third fight between these two was highly anticipated, given how close and entertaining the first 2 fights were. The fight lived up to the hype, earning them another Fight of the Year award. Both men brawled it out for 12 rounds, with Vasquez suffering deep cuts around his eyes. Vasquez went on to win the fight via split decision. Jack Dempsey vs. Luis Firpo. Firpo made boxing history, becoming the first Latino-American fighter to fight for a world heavyweight title. Dempsey was the reigning NYSAC heavyweight champion, and he was the favorite heading into the fight. Firpo struck first early in the contest, sending Dempsey to the canvas during the opening seconds of the first round. That made Dempsey mad, and he went on to knock down Firpo 7 times during the same round. Firpo landed a second knockout towards the end of the round, sending Dempsey out of the ring. That would have been enough to end the fight these days, but boxing was a different sport in the early 20th century. Dempsey recovered from the second knockdown and put Firpo away during the second round, retaining his world title. Both fighters scored 11 knockdowns during the fight, a modern-day boxing record that remains unbroken. Sugar Ray Robinson vs. Jake LaMotta 6. These two boxing legends fought each other 6 times, and their 6th fight ended up being the most memorable and entertaining. The fight was dubbed the Valentine's Day Massacre, as Robinson viciously beat LaMotta during the later rounds. The fight was officially stopped during the 13th round due to the damage LaMotta had taken. George Foreman vs. Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali became the world's heavyweight champion for the 2nd time. When these two met in Zaire, Ali went into the fight as an underdog, with many experts picking Foreman to overwhelm him with his strength. It was one of the most hyped fights in boxing history, and it still managed to exceed all expectations. Ali was at his very best during the build-up to the fight, with his constant verbal onslaught on Foreman. Foreman was ready to take his head off when the opening bell rang. But that was what Ali wanted all along. Ali used an interesting tactic that he later called the rope-a-dope to tire Foreman out before picking him apart. It worked like a charm, and Ali regained his status as the heavyweight champion. If you liked the video, the best way to thank me will be your likes and comments under the video. Thanks for watching.